Hello everyone, this is Shaitan bringing you some more coverage of Stephano's games. I've actually downloaded one of his replay packs, and so we're over the next week or so going to be taking a look at probably all of his games from that replay pack, just to get a feel for all of his playstyles, what he does in all of his matchups. So let's look at this game on Metalopolis, between the red Protoss spawning at the 2 o'clock position, Grubby, the former Warcraft 3 pro, who's now actually on his own team, formerly of EG, against the blue Zerg at the top location, Millennium Stephano, who has been coming off a series of very, very strong performances at ESWC and IPL3. Grubby and Stephano do know each other, so there's a lot of playful banter, but we see that the players are spawning in close positions, and we'll actually see when Stephano is scouting the spawning position of Grubby, but Grubby, it doesn't look like he actually saw the Overlord, but he is going to be able to scout his opponent first. This is going to stop any sort of hatchery first build from going down. He'll be able to pylon block the natural, and I wouldn't expect for Stephano to do anything other than go for a pool first. We do see also that Grubby is going to go for a gateway first build. He doesn't want to do a forge fast expand on this map, I suppose because of just how wide the natural is. It's very difficult to cover all of this with just a single cannon, so a lot of times you have to drop the Nexus and then do a 3-building wall here, maybe one cannon over here and a secondary cannon in the back to defend your mineral line against their supplies. So I guess Grubby just doesn't want to deal with that. He goes for the gateway first. He's going to be able to do an early expand if he wants to, 1 or 2 gates, even going up to 3 if he really, really wants to play it safe. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Now this is the latter version of Metalopolis, so close positions are now disabled. I guess that's going to be a good thing for the Zerg player. They did spawn close by air. I suppose Stephano would have wanted to spawn cross positions, but hey, this is better than close positions. So we see that Grubby is able to delay the hatchery from going down. He drops down the pylon when his probe reaches low health. He'll probably cancel this. The spawning pool does finish. Some Zerglings will have to be brought down here to actually take out the pylon if Grubby does let it finish. No, it looks like he is going to cancel it, and I think Stephano knew that he didn't make any lings. If that pylon had actually completed, it would have taken the drone a very long time to actually take it down. But we do see Stephano taking the gas. He's moving out some overlords. He has one in the middle of the map. I really like this overlord position just because it lets you know if your opponent is taking the Xel'Naga watchtowers, and then he has this overlord over here that'll probably move into position to see when the third base is taken. But we see that Grubby has began to take his second gas, so we're not going to be seeing any sort of a 4-gate from him. He does have a bit of high energy on his Nexus, and he doesn't look like he's going to be using it on the warp gate. There we go. It starts right now. Now he is going to use it on the warp gate, and we see the Zealot actually moving out just to do a bit of light pressure, and it looks like Stephano will actually not know that it is coming. No, Stephano just gets vision of it because of the Zergling. So we'll see what he does to respond. I don't think he's actually going to need to make anything, maybe another pair of links just to be absolutely safe, but it looks like the Zealot isn't going to accomplish really anything at all. It's just going to get some scouting information, but there's really not much to see. He's going to see, I guess, that there's no more gas being mined if the Zealot even goes in there, but no, the Zealot is just sort of sharking around, checking to make sure that there's no third base taken, and there isn't. Sure, if he did see that a third base was taken, that would be really an indication for Grubby to just go all in, as taking a third base against a one-base Protoss is just a very, very dangerous idea. This Zealot Zealot is actually going to have its life saved by the Stalker, and now we're going to need to see more Zerglings coming out of Stephano, because the Zerglings aren't going to be able to catch up to the Stalker without speed. But speed is all about to be finished, and Grubby, I think, recognizes this. He pulls back, so very nice exchange there from Grubby. He is going to be able to force a bunch of lings out, so his Stephano will be at about 8 lings, and we see that they're even on drones, which is never the situation you want to be in as a Zerg. And Stephano actually during that exchange getting a little bit supply block. This Overlord has been on the way for some time. I don't think he began production until the supply block actually happened. So a little bit of a blunder there from Stephano, and he does take the third base now behind it because he just had so many minerals banked up, while also scouting to confirm that an expansion does go down from Grubby. So again, a very safe opening from Grubby. He's going for a 2-gate expansion. This can be a little bit weak against the Roach Ling bust all in, but I think with the scouting Zealot, he was able to determine that Stephano had been making drones, he wasn't making Zerglings, as would be indicative of a bust like that, so he felt fairly confident in doing an expansion off of such limited gateways. We do see Grubby also getting the Robo facility now after the gateways. I really like the Robo play. It's going to make him safe against any sort of burrowed roach movement, burrowed roach aggression, or the popular Infestor opening where you can burrow on your infestors, make 4 or 6 infestors, and then just come over here and lob a ton of infested Terrans in just to see what sort of damage you can do. Additionally, it gives him access to the Observer, and because of how close they are, you can really just get a very, very fast scout on your opponent's base and see exactly what they're doing and respond in kind. We do see actually that he's going for the Warp Prism right away, which is actually a very smart move from Grubby. Remember that this is in close air position, so in a ZvT, for example, you'd see the Terran doing a lot of harass with medevacs just because of how short the distance is between them, and Grubby taking a page out of that playbook looks like it's going to be doing the same thing with the Warp Prism, so we'll see how effective that is, what he decides to load up. It looks like it's going to be 4 sentries, and I'm kind of surprised that Stephano doesn't have any overlords in this empty area. He doesn't even have vision of his smoke hidden area, so we'll see what Grubby decides to do. No, it looks like he's just going to go right in there. He's going to scout that the lair is going up right now, and he's just going to drop the sentries here. That's a little bit odd. I mean, he might be able to take the... No, he's just going to try and take out some drones. He's going to kill maybe 3 or 4 drones. Some force fields are going to force the issue into, force the drones into staying there, but as soon as the sentries get into trouble, he's going to load up and run out of there. He shouldn't lose the Warp Prism, although it is pretty low on health, down to only 36 health. But meanwhile, Stephano has droned up. He's up to about 47 drones right now. He's still behind his opponent, just barely ahead of his opponent, 47 to 45. But we see that Stephano is taking, and now it looks he's going to be up to 4 gas on his 3 bases, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him going into Mutalists. Actually, no, it looks like it's probably going to be Infestors coming out of the lair, just because with Mutalists you'd want to take probably those 2 extra gases just to get the most gas that you can get out of them, because Mutalists really aren't powerful unless you have 10 to 12 of them popping right away. 3 Mutalists isn't really going to do anything. We also see that Stephano is poking around with some Zerglings at the front of the base, but he's not really able to do anything. These +1 Zealots from Grubby are able to really repel the Zerglings from even wanting to move in there. One thing to note, though, is this very, very nice creep spreads from Stephano. Grubby really should be moving out and taking out some creep tomers, and it looks like he is going to do that. Instead, actually, Stephano, rather than going for any sort of higher tech, looks like he's just going to be building up some roaches. He's getting roach speed, +1 just finished for the roaches, so it looks like just a roachling army coming out of Stephano, and I think he's going to be caught a little bit unaware by the Colossi coming out of Grubby, just because those Colossi, once they get up to 2, maybe 3, you're not really going to be able to do much with your roaches, especially if there's proper force fields from the sentries. Add that on top of the Immortal that Grubby has, and as long as he plays a sort of turtley style as he takes a 3rd base, I think he's going to be in a very, very powerful position going into the late mid-game now. And let's see if Stephano even knows that he doesn't know the Robo Bay is there. He knows the Warp Prism is out, obviously, but I think I'm a little bit surprised, actually, that he hasn't predicted that there would be Colossi coming out of Grubby, just because it's such a powerful opening. Oh, it looks like he's actually going to be able to catch all of these units out of position. The force fields are pretty good. They're going to keep most of the roaches out of the way, and the Colossi is going to be able to do damage from the high ground, so Stephano's going to be forced to pull back. He keeps most of his sentries with some nice force fields, so I think he's going to be okay in that situation, but he needs to get run right now. This army is not enough to deal with all the roaches. He's actually losing his sentries, which is kind of a blunder by Grubby, and Grubby is pulling this Warp Prism away. It's being hounded by these Zerglings and the Queen. He needs to take this home and regroup. I think Grubby really missed his opportunity. He pushed out far too early. He needed to play much turtlier as he took his 3rd base, and now we'll see if Stephano can actually force the issue. But remember, Grubby has a very, very nice wall here. It's going to be very difficult for the roaches to actually get in there and do any sort of damage. I think he's going to take more losses than it's going to be worth to do any sort of lasting damage to Stephano, and we see now with the 2 Colossi with Thermal Lance doing damage, I think Stephano would be wise to just run away. It looks like he's going to try to go around. He can't reach the Colossi. He's just going to be doing superficial damage to the army and structures of his opponent, while the Immortal and the two Colossi rain down destruction. We see that Stephano is actually realizing this. He's pulling back a little bit, doing a little bit of pressure, but he is getting 8 more drones, continuing to press his economic advantage as he takes a 4th base and keeping his opponent contained. So nice play from Stephano, but I can't help but to feel that the only reason that Stephano is doing so well this game is just because of a little bit of a misstep from Grubby moving out before his army was really the size that he needed to be, and as a result, losing most of his army, he's not able to take a 3rd base. So right now he's almost forced to max off of 2 base and go for a very, very strong push, see if he can do significant damage. But no, it looks like Grubby is going to choose another option, which is take the gold base. This is another way to recover when you're behind, and if he can keep this up for a couple minutes, then it's going to be a really nice economic boon for him. We see at the same time Grubby is continuing to try to harass with this War Prism, but it looks like it's not able to do much. It's being driven out by Queens, and Stephano has these Spine Crawlers lined up to deal with that harassment. Grubby is moving out, and we see that Stephano is getting two Spires, so we should be seeing some heavy airplay out of Stephano with getting dual upgrades as he should probably be dropping an Infestation Pit and taking up to Hive if he wants to go for a Broodlord Corruptor route, as that's really where you'd want the upgrades. The Mutalisk, I mean, Carapace is nice for them, but if you get them in a critical mass with just the attack upgrades, you're going to be able to deal with a very limited Stalker Sentry count army like what Grubby has right now, especially after Stephano was able to do a lot of damage to the army when Grubby moved out the first time. One thing to note is that Stephano really hasn't tried to extend creep anymore this way. It's sort of fallen off. He's moving it a little bit to the south, which is nice. So we do see a drop over at the 3rd base, able to attack the Spire, taking it down to about half health, but it doesn't look like it's going to be able to kill it. The War Prism also goes down. He didn't take that away. A bit of a blunder there from Grubby, but Grubby is moving forward right now, wiping out some more creep, which is good, but I don't think he should actually engage into this 4 Spine Crawler wall. He might be able to take them out, but with the Roaches coming through, the Roaches are going to be able to do enough damage to this army to where Grubby will be forced to fall back, and even though Stephano might lose all of his units, he's going to be able to remax much, much quicker than Grubby, as long as he can sort of focus fire down these Colossi. And we do see some Corruptors are coming out. There's 2 out already, with another 7 on the way, and with that, look, the Colossi are actually caught out of position. Force Fields are able to keep the Roaches away from them, and but the Corruptors are doing significant damage. It looks like the first is going to go down, and I think Grubby just moved out again far too early. He wasn't able to really reap the benefits from the gold base, and he loses one of his Colossi basically for nothing. The Corruptor count is still at 5 for Stephano. He's making another 4 more along with the 15 Roaches. So this Roach Hydra composition, the Roach Corruptor composition from Stephano is actually proving to be effective, mainly because of how far ahead he is of Grubby. Grubby has been on 2 bases for a very long time. He's just now taken this 3rd gold base, and with the 4th base advantage coming in from Stephano, he's able to use this sort of cost and effective army very well against the army of Grubby, even though Grubby is 1-1 and Grubby's 1-1, Stephano's 2-0. So it's almost even on upgrades. So I suppose that's another factor playing into it, but pretty soon Grubby will be at 2-1, and I think that means the Colossi are going to be able to do significantly more damage to the Roach army of Grubby. But Grubby, oh, poor Grubby gets his Colossi nearly like 2-shotted by Stephano's Corruptors that are raining damage from the high ground, and the Force Fields are pretty good, but they're not able to really keep the Roach army out. Stephano is going to be able to take out all of the Colossus and drive away most of the Stalkers, retaining a large chunk of his Roach army, and poor Grubby loses another Colossus just on a bad rally. Grubby is continuing to make Colossus as quickly as he can, but 9 Corruptors are in the air right now, and I think Stephano is going to be able to pick them off very, very easily, and even if he loses a lot of his army in the engagement, as long as he's able to take the Corruptors, take the Colossi out, he's going to be very happy with the trade. We do see a tiny drop, or a Warpin. Where was the Warpin? I wonder how he got those there. There were a few Zealots that came into the 4th to try and do damage to it, but they were taken out by the army of Stephano. We'll see what Grubby decides to do right now. It looks like he's just continuing to make Colossus and Stalkers, even adding on a 2nd Robo Base, so he's deciding if he can make making Colossus 1 at a time isn't enough, he needs to be making them 2 at a time, and maybe then he'll be able to beat the Corruptors. And I don't really think that'll be effective. We see that Stephano is moving around right now with his Roaches into the gold base. It's pretty well defended with cannons everywhere, but he's going to be able to, take out some pylons, take out a gateway maybe, and then move out of there before Grubby can really recover and do damage. And I think he needs to pull back right now. This is a terrible position to be engaging, and look at all of these Roaches just sort of milling about behind the singular force field. But the Corruptors are able to take out the only Colossus that Grubby has, and Stephano is willing to lose all of these units to just whittle down the units of his opponent. That's actually a really nice way to play the matchup if you're able to take an advantage going into the late mid game, because you can remax so much faster than your opponent. If you can trade, even if it's cost ineffectively, if you can keep the army size of the Protoss down, or just whittle their army, the shields down, so where they don't have very much health, then this means your follow-up attack right now with the 20 Hydralisks that Stephano just made is going to be more than enough to take out the limited army of Grubby. I mean, look, he only has 16 Stalkers and 5 Zealots, and the 26 Hydras are going to be more than enough to take this out, and so we really see a nice style of play from Stephano, but again, this all really goes back to Grubby moving out at the very beginning, before he was ready, before he had a significant enough army to be able to deal with the mid-game army that Stephano had, and really that just put him irrevocably behind. He had to take this gold base, while Stephano was free to take just bases all over the map, and after that, Grubby just was never really able to engage with the strong army he needed in the advantage that he needed. He just is paying the price right now, as he's able to keep the Colossus count very, very low with the Corruptors that Stephano has, while his Hydralisks are just like laying siege to the gold base of Grubby. Now we do see that Grubby has taken this third base, but Grubby knows that it's over. GG, well played from Grubby. Stephano takes the game.